So ladies, are the men in your life less than forthcoming, honest, and open about the questions that you have regarding sex, relationships? What is going on inside of our brains? Well, today is the day that we start answering your questions. Yes, today is the day when questions get answered as openly and honestly as I can, and I gotta throw a couple little caveats, a little asterisk right next to some of these. I am speaking for myself and my experience as a man and the men that I know. Obviously, I cannot speak for an entire gender. If you do have your own questions that I'm not addressing, and we're gonna keep doing these, by the way, please put them in the comments. Guys, if you're watching, please feel free to chip in, if you will, and throw your own opinions in there. But with all of that, we've got 5 questions for you today, and let's get started. Question number 1. Do guys ever talk about sex? And do you talk about us with each other? Very good question. Yes, we talk about sex, but not like you think we do. And most guys do not ever talk about sex in relation to a specific person. Meaning, if I were to have sex with Mary, would I talk with Mary about my friends? You know, hey, I did this with Mary and I was like that with Mary. That probably would not come up. Guys are not specific. I mean, yes, maybe they'll mention that I was with Mary, maybe not. Most guys, we're too shallow, I think, for that. When we do talk about sex, it is much higher level. We don't talk about things we like. We don't talk about things we did. It's usually sort of informative. You know, it's like a news bulletin. You know, Rick had sex. You know, that's it. I'm assuming women talk a little bit more deeply about things and techniques and this and that. Guys really don't. And I don't know if it comes from an area of insecurity. I don't know what it comes from. But I can honestly say I have never had a conversation with another guy where we delved down and distilled what it is we liked and what we did. If anything, it turns into an 8th grade lunchroom brag fest. I don't know why guys don't do it, but you can kind of rest assured we're not really sitting around dissecting your body and what you did, and sadly it has a lot more to do with us. Question number 2. What do you really think of when you tell us that you're not thinking? I saw a little, an inspirational video, I don't know, a couple of years ago. Yeah, guys can actually think of nothing. It is possible, and I know women can't understand that because, you know, women's brains don't work. We can easily have this box inside of our head with nothing in it, and we can climb in that box, and literally, we are not thinking of anything. If you ask me, what am I thinking? I don't have an answer because there is no answer. It's just static. You know, remember the TV days of old, 1 in the morning they play the national anthem and you would just hear hissing for 5 hours? Yeah, we have that box in our head. I'm trying to think, what do I think of when I'm thinking of nothing? It's just random snippets, you know, a second of this, a half a second of that. It's literally just idling. Where's your car going when it's just idling at a stoplight? It's not going anywhere, it's just idling. And yeah, guys can do that. So ladies, when you ask us, what are we thinking? When we're thinking of nothing and we say nothing and you get all upset, well, you have to be thinking of something. Well, no, we have the ability to have nothing in there. Number 3, do you like looking at other women? Why are you even looking? Oh, that's a dangerous, dangerous question now, isn't it? Yes, we like looking at other women. And the standard answer is, oh, I was looking at her because of her beauty. Like I would look at an art on the wall. No, that's not entirely true. We do like looking at other women. And I don't really quite understand why. It's not that we look at them and go, you know, oh man, if I could just be with her, I'd show her what a man is like. And there are guys, believe me, there are plenty of asshole guys who think that way. But for the most part, if I'm looking at another woman, it is because she's beautiful or interesting or there's something about her. I don't take it any farther than that. I don't think most men do. We're visual creatures. We like to look at beautiful things, beautiful people, but it doesn't really go farther. I don't think there's a lot of fantasy involved. There's certainly not, oh, I can't wait to dump this chick that I'm with so I can go hook up with her. And yeah, there are guys that do that, and if you find them, run away. But I think for the rest of us, I don't know. I'm assuming that women do the same thing. We're just not as good at catching you guys as you are at catching us. We have had sort of ingrained in us that we have to stealth look, and I think that makes it look even more worse than it really is, because we know we're not supposed to be looking, so we try to hide the fact that we're looking, and then it becomes we're looking. No, it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't change the way we feel about anything. When a guy looks at a woman, it has nothing really to do with feelings if they're just, looking at someone on the street. I find myself looking at men sometimes too, not in a sexual way, could just kind of prove that, oh, look, there's a very beautiful person. But for me, yeah, I can look at a woman going down the street, in a subway, wherever, and just appreciate her beauty, or some aspect of her beauty, or some aspect of her personality even. It's experiencing something, but it does not, I'm saying, because this is a very dangerous subject, it feels like. But no, it has nothing to do with you or desire or fantasy. It just literally, it's enjoyable to look. Number 4, do men ever fake an orgasm? Yeah, we have, but it's not quite for the reason I think you think it might be. We assume, we guys, that if a woman is faking an orgasm, it means because she's not going to be able to, and she either wants us to stop, or she wants to make us feel like we've accomplished something. And yeah, I have done maybe that once or twice for the same reason, but mostly if a man is going to fake an orgasm, it's because he's afraid he's going to lose his erection, or because he's afraid that he's not going to be able to continue. So it's better to wind up on top, if you will. It's better to wind up a winner than to fail. So sometimes I think men, when they feel like things are not quite working the way they are and that he may not be able to continue, it's better to just stop and go, oh, it was great, or what, I'm not going to show you my O face. But, then all of a sudden, maybe you can't explain why there's no semen, but then again, do you go looking? I think if men were to fake an orgasm, it would purely be to save face. They just don't want to have that discussion of why they weren't able to continue. So yeah, we'll fake it, but we'll kind of fake it for selfish, we don't want to have to deal with the other conversation reasons. And lastly, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do this one really well, but I will try. Why do you find it so hard to communicate? Tell us what men are really feeling. Now, the reason that is difficult to answer is because I don't know that we can answer that for ourselves. We are society and life, especially when you are at my age or above, we've been taught to not really deal with feelings. That's like saying, why don't you cry? And I might get to that question one day. It's because we're not supposed to. We have been told for the longest time that we were supposed to be providers, we were supposed to be strong. It's just instilled in us. And I know in some way that is an excuse. It's something we can fall back on, but I was taught never to show my emotions, and we consider that to be that. Truth be told, we're afraid. We don't communicate and talk about our feelings deeply, nor do we cry, because we're afraid of the way that feels. We are afraid of loss of control more than anything. Self-control, not control of the situation, not control over you. Men have this innate feeling, and I think I speak for most of us on this one, that we have to be in control of ourselves. It's not what society taught, it's a part of wanting to feel strong. And so if we lose control, even to ourselves, that is something that is one of the worst feelings we can have. And so, yeah, we will tend to avoid conversations about our feelings, or we'll only go to halfway in. It's a very fine-edged sword that we dance on, that once we can kind of feel like we are pushing into dangerous territory, we will run away. It's just kind of what we do. Even those of us who are somewhat enlightened, if, define your version of enlightenment, it feels that way to me. And I like to think that I am somewhat enlightened. But at the same time, when you want to talk about some of my deep feelings, just making this video alone and talking about them gives me the willies. It's not something we do naturally. And it's something, even when we learn, we have to fight against our primal instincts. I don't know if they're genetically, I don't know if they're socially, but they are there. And we don't communicate with you because we're afraid. And I will give you a little hint here, ladies, that if you do want us to communicate more, and we start by bringing up the fact that we're communicating, we'll stop it in its tracks. It's bad enough to us that we are talking about our feelings, or heaven forbid, crying. But if somebody brings it up, even if we bring it up ourselves, that, oh, look, I'm talking about my feelings, whoo, that door's going to shut and conversation's going to be over. It's bad enough to do it, but to actually acknowledge the fact that you're doing it too, it's a little bit to ask for many of us. So yeah, we have them. We're afraid to show them. And once we get them going, it's best just to not acknowledge them and let them kind of be free and learn how to do it on their own. And there you go, 5 questions. I really want to do this again because there's lots and lots of questions that I think need answering from a male point of view. These are sort of some of the safe softball ones. I know some of the questions I've got coming up for next week are definitely not going to be softball shaped. Anyway, I hope everybody is healthy, happy. If you have questions, please put them in the comments below. If you have rebuttals, if you have thoughts on the subject, the same thing. And in the meantime, be healthy, be safe, and we will talk to you real soon.